Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Attleboro School Committee for Monday, September 12th, 2022. It's your reminder that this meeting is being electronically recorded. We're going to start tonight in executive session. The Attleboro School Committee will convene an executive session pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Sections 21A, 2, and 3, to discuss strategy with respect to negotiations with non-union personnel and to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the school committee. The committee will return to open session immediately following executive session. A motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Domenici?
Yes.
Ms. Porto?
Yes.
Mr. Withers, yes. Mr. Geddes?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Frappier?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
All right. We will take a brief 30-second recess to get into executive session, and then we will reconvene.
Just for the committee?
Just for the committee.
No,
Welcome back. We're back in open session. Before we get started with our agenda tonight, I would like to entertain a motion to amend our agenda to add discussion regarding the superintendent's contract to the start of the business agenda after the spotlight presentation tonight.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so again, this motion is just to amend the agenda to add that item. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, first up, we have our spotlight event and something we've been waiting for, I think, for a long time, which is the introduction of the Attleboro High School administration, which is largely new. I apologize to you right in front of me. I'm going to continuously be looking this way because I'm used to the superintendent and assistant superintendent sitting right there. So you're right in my line of sight. So I apologize, but I will turn it over to Ms. Regan to start the introduce the spotlight event.
Sure. Thank you, Chairman Withers. So tonight we are honored to have the entire Attleboro High School leadership team with us, and we'll get started with asking Ms. Kate Campbell to come on up and hand it over to Superintendent Sawyer.
Come on up. So, as we talked about, we had so many changes in our administrators this spring that we decided to just do the high school as a separate conversation, because they also, have a little bit to explain in terms of some reorganization of how we're utilizing this building to its full capacity. So tonight was the night, and we're excited to finally make it to here. So this is our real first chance to introduce you formally to Ms. Campbell, who, as you know, has already been on the job and in full force for quite some time at this point. So, introduction isn't quite really what we're doing here, but I just did want to take a moment to formally point out that, finding a high school principal is a daunting task. It's something that we talked about when Mr. Rooney announced that he was leaving us. And when I put together the team at the high school to go and do the search, it was very clear, how seriously they were taking it, the fact that they really wanted to go out and find the right person, and they set a very high bar for the criteria of what we were looking for, of who we needed to lead this high school, which is a daunting task on any given day, but certainly in this moment, on the eve of such an important change. And it was really exciting to see how that committee so unanimously and so strongly felt like we had found the right person. Ms. Campbell is, an Attleboro product, right? That's where she cut her teeth. She did leave us about 10 years ago to become an administrator in Plainville, and then she went to Foxborough. For the entire 10 years she's been gone, every time we've had a vacancy, I've tried to lure her back because I knew that ultimately her heart lay with us. But it turns out, try to lure her back. I guess if you want to catch a big fish, you need big bait. And finally, the high school was the kind of job that she finally was ready for the task. We're so excited to have her, for her to bring both her understanding of who we are as a district, the community that we serve, what we are about in terms of teaching and learning, and to bring that with all the experiences that she's gained while she was out being an administrator someplace else. I think really puts her in the right place at the right time for us and for her. And we just can't say enough about how excited we have her. So, Ms. Kate Campbell.
Thank you, Superintendent Sawyer. Thank you all for being here, and so much of, and allowing me to be here, but so much of what Dave has said really is true. And the 20 years that I spent here in Attleboro defined who I am, to be able to go out and learn and grow, to become better, to come back with an even stronger skill set that maybe I wouldn't have had I stayed. I see it as a true privilege and a challenge some days for the work that we're doing, but it was a feeling of I am home. There is no doubt about it. This is where I'm meant to be. The colleagues, the work ethic, the mission that the teachers have for what they want to happen in their classrooms is something that I'm very much aligned to. The opportunity of coming back at for the high school level was something that really hadn't really crossed my mind, and sometimes the universe lands a challenge or an opportunity in front of you, and I'm so glad that that I'm here. We do have a lot of work in front of us. We're coming off a pandemic, but it's more than that. This opportunity that not only the school committee, but the city of Attleboro has allowed us with the opportunity of showing who we are. Our hashtag is "This is Attleboro," but I believe that this is Attleboro, what the work that we're going to do. So much work has been done behind the scenes in the past couple of years leading up to this moment. And I take that very seriously because it was all of you and your predecessors and the city and so many and every single person that said, yes, this is what our students need here in the city with the new building. It is a building that is tremendous. It is second to none. You walk through the building now with the goods that are really here. I know we spoke about getting the furniture in and this in, but the real goods are here, and that's the staff and the students. And when you see the flexible seating and the learning and the connected opportunities that students are having, I do think that this reset is just what we need for our students in Attleboro. There is a sense of excitement. I think that, and I don't want to say that it's me because I don't believe that, but the gift of this opportunity of being able to show up for work and for school every day in this building is tremendous. The design that went into our school of having this bigger university type model with the 4 houses allows us to be able to reach every student. So many pieces of this plan that was designed by the district makes sense. And I think that where we're going to be able to go in the next couple of years and in the future is really going to be sustainable. We know that a comprehensive high school means that there will be considerable resources and means and support staff to get students what they need and then some. And that is something that is very clear to me, has been very easy for me to pick up on where we need to take our kids, our students. But what is also really exciting, Dave used the word team before, and I feel very much part of a team that has the same vision. And when we talk about engagement, that is at the forefront of what we want kids to do. We really want our students to be able to say, I want to go to school, this is where I want to be, and I want to take what I'm learning there and bring it forth in the world for where I go after high school. And I think that what we're doing in kindergarten to 4th as well as middle school is just going to be able to carry through to what we're going to be able to now offer every single high school student in Attleboro. It's exciting, it's challenging, it's daunting. We also know this is a very big responsibility, being gifted this beautiful building, and it is on all of us. I'm going to be biased, but I have the most wonderful admin team that works with me every day. Not only does the central office have a real connection to the work that we do at the high school, but the admin team right now is so unified in what we want, and what's happening in House 1 is going to be happening in House 2, and how we problem solve and how we generate ideas and problem solving we do as a unit, and we know that together we're stronger. So I don't want this to be just about Kate Campbell, because really I'm just one member of a team, and it's an amazing team. So we're just going to do real quick about who we are and what we do, and then if there's any questions for all of us, we'll be more than happy to answer them. Doug, come on down. This is Doug Heel, one of our 2 associate principals.
Hi, everyone. First, I want to thank Superintendent Sawyer and all of Central Office for the opportunity. Like Kate said, this is an exciting time. I actually was at Wamsutta for the last 3 years, but I actually started my career at the high school in 2007 as a special education teacher, and then in 2012 I became the dean before going to Wamsutta for 3 years as an administrator. So I'm really happy to be back, especially in this role. This role is kind of the culmination of a lot of years and work and experience that I've put in. I'm overseeing the student services side of the house, which includes discipline, attendance, the daily operations of the building, and making sure, like Ms. Campbell said, that it's consistent amongst the 4 houses. So I'm really looking forward to this new position, and I just want to thank everyone for the opportunity.
We're lucky to have you.
Thank you. I think Kevin's next.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kevin Gorman. Thank you for inviting me here tonight. I am the Associate Principal of Curriculum and Supervision. I'm starting my 6th year as an administrator here at the high school after spending my first 17 as both an English teacher and a department head. So I've spent my whole career in Attleboro Public Schools, and I'm very proud to have done so and continue to do so. Part of my role is to I'm really interested in focusing on what's happening in the classroom at Attleboro High School, and part of my job is to make sure there's alignment between what's going on in all 4 houses, right? That students don't have exactly the same but similar learning experiences, and we want those learning experiences to be, mission driven, right? We want kids to be involved in relevant and engaging student-centered learning experiences. We want to do progressive things with them that focus on student agency, interdisciplinary work, peer collaboration, inquiry design, hands-on thinking, and of course productive struggle. And we're going to continue to do those things across all 4 houses. One of the nice things about the house model and our new schedule, which I'll tell you a little bit about, is students are now having an opportunity to take classes in a house with a certain group of teachers that can, get to know them and give them the individualized services that they need, right? So we have house teams, especially in grades 9 and 10, and whereas in the past, in our old schedule, we're a pretty big school, right? So we have, let's say, 20 sections of English 2, and any student could be in any grade 10 student could be in one of those 20 sections with any number of one of our 6, now 8 guidance counselors. So what the house model structure is really able to do is the students are taking their classes in-house with a team of teachers. So for example, what allows, they will all the students in, let's say, House 1 have 1 of 2 guidance counselors and 1 or maybe 2 English teachers in that grade level. So it really enhances the ability to communicate as a team to give students the services they need, and also gives teachers the opportunity to collaborate together to work on interdisciplinary learning, but also look at student data and see, hey, what's working in your class, what's working in my class, how can we help students? So that's part of really our student focus and student-centered design, and it's working in a lot of different ways. So we're really happy that the new schedule is allowed to do this. So we really feel like there's some complementary things going on here, right? We have a house model structure where kids are in houses. We're in a new schedule where students are taking classes in their houses. So things are coming together, and it's really nice. As a lot of you in this room were in the nascent stages of this, planning it, talking about it as an idea, and now it's coming to fruition, and it's a really exciting time. And I guess in closing, I just want to say that also as a school, we're all in on our comprehensive nature, right? We have a burgeoning career and technical education program here, and again, the house model and our new schedule allow the CTE programs to flourish. So with that as a lead-in, we'll bring up Mr. Jeremy Gay, the Director of CTE, and Ann Montagano. I know.
Good evening, everybody. Jeremy Gay, Director of CTE, and 28th year in education, but it's been less than 3 years here in Attleboro, which, when you look at the amount of things that we've done here, it seems like it's been a lot, it feels like it's been a lot longer, but in a good way. So what we do is, Ms. Montagano and I, we have oversight of all the career and technical education programs, and that is making sure that the existing programs are fully funded, and also starting new programs and making sure that they're certified. And just the other day, we submitted our applications for 5 new programs, 3 of which we started this year. Just a couple of years ago, we had 12 programs. Last year, we were running 15, and this year we have 18. So things are up and running, and things are incredibly busy. But it's a wonderful place to be in one of the largest vocational schools in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So with everything else we do, There's a lot of compliance issues that we have to deal with. A lot of people are held accountable for what happens during the MCAS during, the lower grades. We get held accountable for what the kids do a year or 2 or 5 years after graduation. So it's a little different, but with all the regulations that come with Chapter 74, there's a lot of work that we have to do, and it's incredibly busy. The support from central office and the rest of the admin team has just been tremendous, as from the school committee as well. And I am truly blessed to no longer be alone in that office. It's nice to have somebody to share the joys with and also work through some of the things that come up. And having Ms. Montagano with me is a true blessing. And it's, I think my hair might actually start growing back soon. It's something to look forward to. But I just want to say thank you very much.
My name is Ann Montagano, and I am both grateful and excited to be back in CTE. I think the addition of the assistant director position, we're really poised to help teachers grow into these beautiful state-of-the-art shops, and it gives us just a little more time to pay attention to the quality of instruction and the teaching and learning side in CTE that we didn't have the luxury of being able to pay attention to previously, because it's a lot for one person. So it really is exciting that we can do more. Also, I've been on different parts of this team over the years, and it truly feels like a team now. It's been difficult sometimes in CTE to bridge gaps and to really feel connected to the building, and it really feels that way now. And so I'm just, I think we are really poised to do some great things in CTE.
We'd also like to introduce our assistant principals. So I know that they are going to come up and speak as a group. We're going to have one spokesman. Robin, why don't you start with introductions of yourself for House 1?
Okay. We can just...
Yeah, you take a seat.
We're really organized, I promise. Good evening. Thank you for having us and me here. Robin Bianchetto. I'm the assistant principal of House 1. I'm entering my 18th year here in Attleboro. Started out in 2005 as an adjustment counselor in the elementary schools, did some time in the middle schools, and I'm very happy to be here. Came up as a dean 4 years ago, and I'm really excited for the opportunity to become an administrator with this team of amazing leaders.
I'm Brian Hodges. I'm the assistant principal for House 2. It's nice to see a lot of familiar faces and meet the new ones. This is my 18th year in the district. I did the first 17 as a social studies teacher, the head of the social studies department, and then I was a dean for half a year last year when we had a vacancy. And yeah, very excited to really start this new job, start this new journey with this really great team.
Hi everybody, my name is Nicole Lane. I'm the assistant principal for House 3. I started 17 years ago at Attleboro High School. Most of that time was in the social studies department as a history teacher, and then a year with the AVA and a year as a dean.
Hello everyone, my name is Greg Pavlisco. I am the assistant principal of House 4. So a little bit about myself, because I am new to this community here. I was in Providence for the last 10 years, first as an ELA and ESL teacher, and then 5 years as a middle school administrator. And I just want to say that I'm just thrilled for this opportunity to be in front of all of you right now, but as well to be part of this community and central office and leadership team here, because I truly believe and I'm completely aligned with the mission and vision of this district going forward for public education. And it's a testament to everyone here that's worked behind the scenes, the community that believes in this mission and vision, and I'm just very excited to be part of the team and to help grow.
So I volunteered or was voluntold to speak for the group. Just a little bit about what we do in our sort of day-to-day. I'd say that we're good examples of how middle management gets a bad rap. I think we have the best positions because it's great to be able to work with the whole leadership team on sort of the big picture vision for the district and the school, and be able to really think about what that mission and vision looks like in a classroom. But then we also get to spend our days in the trenches with the students and with the staff. So we oversee roughly a quarter of the school each. It's about 450 kids, between 40 and 50 staff, depending on the house. We have different programs that live within each one. But they roughly do the same things, right? Like our job is to make sure that we're developing a house culture that supports the kind of culture that we want to have in the district. Our job is to make sure that the learning in the classrooms looks like what we all talk about when we think about the mission, the vision, the portrait of a graduate. And then we get to work with the students when they need support. We get to work with the students and celebrate their successes. We get to work with the staff and we work to support them with what they need and work to celebrate their successes. And it's just great to now have this alignment where, I forget who was alluding to it, where the high school was very spread out both geographically but also organizationally, right? We had three of us were deans last year and we would oversee discipline, but we didn't work with the staff. I was a department head and I would work with the staff, but I was mostly isolated from the student side of things. And now we've sort of taken that and restructured it and sort of combined all the parts where we work with the students, but we also work with the staff teams that work with the same students that we do. And so it's this really fantastic opportunity to build smaller communities within a bigger school that can provide all the opportunities that a large school like this can provide, which most schools can't. But also to have a smaller, more supportive atmosphere that's so conducive to the kinds of relationships and support structures that we know our students need, right? And so we work with a house office team. We all have 2 guidance counselors. We all have a school adjustment counselor. We have house clerks who do all kinds of fantastic work for us. And that's sort of the team that we're working on the day-to-day to bring the stuff that we talk about and the ideals that we all share and have to life. Did I forget anything?
Okay.
How'd I do?
You did great. I'm so glad that you're able to see the positive energy from our team. The excitement is real for what we're hoping to accomplish, but I also want to be honest in that we're working hard. And as members of the community, we also know that you're hearing, there are some growing pains at the high school. We are figuring out we're tightening up the lunch lines, we're working on the arrival and dismissal. So even though we're sharing all of the positive, because there's so much positive, please know that we take all of our families and staff and students' feedback seriously. We continue to meet and do we need to pivot? Do we need to stay the course? Do we need to shift and do something different? But everybody here today, again, and this was built from Lori and Dave on what and the team really wanted for the high school. We want to do right by the students. We want to do right by the staff and the community, because we truly believe that this is the time for Attleboro to be able to say, wow, look at us. Look at what we're able to do here at Attleboro High School. So.
Thank you. Any comments or questions for Mr. Geddes?
Thank you all. It's exciting to meet and kind of renew relationships with all of you from different levels. It was, as this group was up here, I started thinking and trying to do math in my head because I couldn't remember everyone's totals, but we're looking at over 100 years of educational experience going into the leadership of this building. About 80 of which, maybe a little more, is exclusively or almost entirely in this district, which is absolutely remarkable, both because I think, as a lot of you have said, it's a unique community feel, and there are a lot of community-specific issues that our students deal with that you may not see in other districts. But a great balance to that is other district perspectives and outsider perspectives. So even folks that haven't been exclusively Attleboro I foresee as being key contributors. And it's exciting to see a new organization and a new level of collaboration that, like you said, Brian, it wasn't always even offered, wasn't always possible in the other building just by the structure of it. So I'm very excited to see all of you, and congratulations to those of you that are moving into these roles that have been here for a while. Good to see you taking the steps up. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Branchi?
Thank you. And yeah, this is sterling. It's really good to meet all of you. Some of you I've known for some time. And I was one of the 50 or so folks 6 years ago at Sensata that started envisioning like what we thought this building could be. But even before that, it was what we wanted for education. And to see it all, like we're here, you know, we've got a lot of work to do this year, but like we're here. We actually have the structure that we thought about. So I'm excited that everybody is here in front of us and excited about the work that you're going to do. And I mean, not to put the cart before the horse or start scheduling everything in advance, but I'd love to see this group come back towards the end of the school year, kind of give us the lessons learned and how everything is going, because it is a big undertaking. And also as a parent of a high school student, I'm excited for her and her learning. So welcome aboard and thank you for the work you're going to do.
Thank you.
Yeah, so a few thoughts. I can already tell by the agenda today, I'm probably going to speak more than I like and certainly more than anyone likes to hear, so my apologies. But first, you know, it's great to see the enthusiasm and buy-in of this team. I think, you know, we've been lucky to see at the central office level over the past few years how important a strong administrative team is that works well together and has the same vision, and to see this for the high school it is really exciting. And you know, the enthusiasm, you know, that each of you have brought to your various positions, you know, you can feel it. And so I think, you know, our students are really lucky. You know, I think this, you know, this new building allows us to do things we wanted to do for a while, and the buy-in is really important and exciting. So thank you to all of you, and I echo Mr. Domenici. I can't wait to hear more about how the year went. And then, secondly, Ms. Campbell, you know, it's a great team you have put together, but you are the leader, and I wanted to echo what Mr. Sawyer said. I was the school committee member who was on the committee that looked for the new high school principal. I was the only member of the committee, I believe, who was not a high school teacher or clerk or parent or had some role. And so, you know, my first thought in joining it was how impressive it was, how everyone, you know, took the responsibility so seriously, both in thinking of what they wanted in a leader, and you know, really holding the candidates accountable and discussing them. And you know, that was great to see as someone from a little bit from the outside to see. But you know, the second thing that struck me was, you know, how clear, you know, the committee was, and that you were the choice for this job at this time. And you know, there was very little disagreement. You know, I think we tried to find reasons for debate, and there really were none. So, you know, Attleboro's really lucky, I think, to have you in this position, and thank you for taking it on. And I think, you know, early returns and the team that's been put together shows that, you know, you're on the right path, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah. I'm excited for us.
Good.
I am.
Yeah. It's an exciting time for Attleboro, so.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. No. Sorry, we did our numbers right there.
Next on our agenda as amended is the superintendent's contract. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the contract amendment to Superintendent Sawyer's contract as has been presented to the committee.
So moved.
Second.
Just a brief overview. This contract amendment would really just do two things. It keeps him here, which is most importantly, but it would acknowledge market-based adjustment is due, if not overdue, and provide him with a 2.5% increase for this fiscal year over what he was entitled to receive under the contract as written, as well as put him on the same longevity schedule as other teachers and administrators in the district, which for some reason he hadn't been. So the contract would accomplish both of those two things. You know, as I said, in welcoming the Attleboro High School administration, we're lucky here in Attleboro to have a very strong and cohesive central office administration, and you know, that is largely to the credit of Superintendent Sawyer, who's been a strong leader for us for the and coming to a new building and getting the community to rally around a new building, battling through COVID, and various other things that we could spend a lot of time talking to. I think we all acknowledge that we're lucky to have him here, and we're glad he indicates he wants to stay. So for those reasons, I think that the contract amendment is worthwhile and overdue. Any other comments? All right, so I'll entertain a motion. Sorry, I entertained it already. I'll take a roll call vote, given the magnitude of the matter being undertaken, and the vote is to approve the amendment to the superintendent's contract as has been presented. Mr. Domenici?
Yes.
Ms. Porto?
Yes.
Mr. Withers, yes. Mr. Geddes?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Frappier?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Next, we have superintendent's report. Mr. Sawyer?
Thank you, Chairman Withers. As I've been keeping the committee informed, we were pleased to get the district off to a strong start. There will always be problems with the beginning of any school year. I think it's important to reflect on the fact that as an industry, we completely shut down for July 1, and then starting August 1, prepare to bring us back up online for the end of August. And that need to both shut us down and then restart us is a real technical challenge, especially for a district of this size. And on top of it all, every student, well, not every, but almost every student is, moving in their grade. And so, it's not just, changing teachers, but it's also in the computer in terms of what school they're in or what grade they're in and the data that's associated with them. There are lots of technical challenges to all of this. And so in the amount of time that we have to close out one year and prepare for the next, all while running summer programs, is a pretty significant undertaking. You add to that every year we deal with both late registrations, people who show up, just before school starts. That's always a challenge to get them in as quickly as possible. And we have people who resign late. We get late resignations, end up with vacancies in places that are inconvenient, with very little time, sometimes no time to fill them. And so all of these create a pretty difficult set of circumstances that we have to work through in any given year. You add to that this year, 5 of our 9 schools have a new principal. That's quite a bit of transition to undertake and to make sure that they all are in the place that they need to be so that they can start their buildings as efficiently as possible. And then, of course, we moved both central office and a third of the district out of an aging building into a brand new one. This was an enormous logistical undertaking, just to make sure everything got from one place to the next and that we had done all the various things needed to put us in a place where this was even possible to be running. Plus, we faced through that lots of technical challenges, right? Like just from a computer perspective, the backbone of our technological infrastructure was in the old high school. And so when we moved from this building, we were moving out of the servers that were outdated into brand new ones, but those brand new ones had to be configured and set up. And if you've ever owned a computer, which in 2022, I think most of you have, when you turn on a new computer, it doesn't necessarily talk to other devices right out of the gate. We had all kinds of problems with making everything work the way that it should. And as you know, that in 2022, there's quite a few supply chain issues to work through. Lots of things missing. This part hasn't come in, that part hasn't come in. So for all of that to be happening, and we're running summer programs, starting the school year is a pretty big undertaking. And I think we're all pretty proud that we've gotten better at this. But we acknowledge that there's still work to be done. We can always do better. We'll work on the things that are the perennial problems, which is making sure that we have a qualified educator in front of every student in every position from day one, as close to day one as possible. Making sure that those that we get all of our students into the buildings as quickly as possible, and working out all the transportation issues. And as you'll see from the reports from our central office administrators, I think we're doing a good job of all that. But despite all these challenges, we are off to what seems to us to be a very strong start. One area that perhaps hasn't been quite as much to brag about is We've certainly run into a couple issues on social media and out of the gate. I feel like the continuing politicization of schools continues to be a challenge for us. And I just wanted to take a moment to, reemphasize that as a district, we are doing everything in our power to resist that politicization, right? We want this district to remain apolitical, that it's a school district for everyone in the community, regardless of political stripe. And we need to create schools in which all families feel like the schools belong to them. I'll just reemphasize that for people who seem concerned about, what we're up to, ultimately we're here to teach kids how to think and not what to think, right? That's at the core of what we do. And all the decisions that we're making as a district are in line with that basic way of looking at it. But that doesn't mean that kind of work is easy. It raises all kinds of problems. And I should take a moment to thank Mr. Frappier for helping to untangle one of those situations last week, right? People raise concerns and, we need to work those things out. So where do these concerns come from? Well, one, we're here to serve all students. And in a community of this size, with the demographics that we have, we are not a monolithic community like some small sleepy bedroom communities are. We are a city, and as a result, we serve a wide range of viewpoints. And the schools have to belong to all of them. And as such, I think our schools are a microcosm of our larger society, right? Whatever's out there in the world, we have a little bit of that here. I am here to report the full range of it. And so, as if we believe in public education, and of course, as public educators, there's certainly a lot of people who do, but if we believe in public education, we need to create a learning environment that is respectful and tolerant of all the perspectives within it. Right? That has to be what we endeavor to do, and that means that people are going to encounter ideas that they don't necessarily agree with, right? There's no way to protect anyone from that reality. There's too many people coming here every day with too wide of a set of opinions. And so we need to be patient with the fact that there are differing viewpoints, within the walls. That's what public education is all about. And I think I need to be more explicit in that that's true of our staff as well. And I want to say that I think our staff have teaching was always a tough job. And again, I've said this before, but I'll just reiterate, the research says that teaching is one of the toughest endeavors on earth, right? The range of skills that are required to be good at teaching is wider than just about anything else. But on top of that, now with the political reality that we're facing, it's very, very hard for our teachers in this district to navigate the various, social pitfalls that now face them day to day in the classroom. And despite the fact that it would be human nature for them to retreat from that, right? We are pressing them to do the opposite, right? To engage students, to forge relationships, to be people with them. And that's scary given that in this day and age, it's very easy to end up on the wrong side of an issue. And by the way, the same person can be on wrong on both sides, depending on the day and what they happen to say or to do. So, we ask teachers to be vulnerable, to be people, to forge those relationships with students. And, that is always going to result in there being some sense of where people stand. And I want to be very clear, just like our kids are coming from a wide range of viewpoints, our staff as are well. And, as I like to say, this is America, right? You're allowed to have different viewpoints. And we've got, again, the full range here in the Attleboro Public Schools. I've got from, people who are neo-Marxists to flat earthers, right? They all work for us. And as long as they do their jobs well and they keep from using their position of power to push their viewpoint, it should not matter to any of us what they might happen to believe. And by the way, they're allowed to have those beliefs, and they shouldn't have to hide them or lie about them, but they just need to do a good job of not making that the content of what they're teaching in their classrooms. And I'm not going to say that in a district of 850 people, Do we get it right every single time? I mean, with 6,000 kids interacting with 850 staff members, that's a lot of interactions in a day. The idea that they're always going to be perfect, I don't think is realistic. And so my final word is that I'm not saying that we get it always right, but one, there's no nefarious intent. We're not here trying to indoctrinate anyone into some sort of ideology. We work very hard to make it very clear that we're not here on ideological grounds. But when people have concerns about things that happen, things that are said, the content that's being taught in the classroom, I really encourage parents to reach out. And it should start with reaching out with the educator or whoever the concern is about. I mean, that's as adults to adults, that's what I would encourage. But for various reasons, that's not always how that plays out. But then reach out to the school, to the principal, to somebody. And I would like to believe that the people who choose to reach out to me, they might not always agree with, again, what is the viewpoints of various people involved. I would like to believe that people find that we are attentive to concerns that when people don't get things right 100%, we do address it. And we do try to make sure that everyone is staying on mission, which again is about providing learning experience for help kids to develop the skills they need. We're not here to try to convince them that they should believe this or that. Because again, in a community as diverse as this one, both demographically and ideologically, I'm not sure what we would even be on ground to teach anybody in particular, right? It's all out there, and as I said before, public education is about creating a space in which all of that can interact successfully for the betterment of everyone involved. So I just feel like sometimes, and social media in particular can be, not necessarily bring out the best in people, that's not the place to work out legitimate concerns. And so, again, it's a free country. You can say whatever you want on social media. But for people who are, concerned about what's happening in our schools, please reach out to us and we'll work with you, because we want to make sure that every student feels like this is their school as well. All right, at this point, I'd like to call up my team to join so that we can provide you with some specific updates about the start of school. We'll begin with my assistant superintendent here, Ms. Lori Regan.
Thank you, Superintendent Sawyer. As Mr. Sawyer mentioned, we continued to have all of our programming run throughout the summer. So we had over 300 students that participated in summer programming in addition to ESY for our Jumpstart program for incoming kindergartners, our Title I Reading and Writing program, our English Learner or Multilingual Learner program, middle school academic enrichment, and then also credit recovery. So we were busy this summer as well, trying to prepare for this building and then keeping our students engaged as well. On August 26th, we had over 32 pathway professional development sessions for all of our teachers. They ranged in including topics such as Into Reading for our new curriculum program, Open SciEd, curriculum alignment, and also engaging English learners. We also had specific professional development that was designed for the AHS staff in the new house model, which you heard a significant amount this evening. So within the first few days of our schools, a lot of the classrooms were going through their routines, building their classroom culture, school culture. We have successfully transitioned to more teaching and learning and instruction in all content areas. As mentioned in previous meetings, we have a new website, which I'm sure you've seen. We are continuing to populate and reorganize that, and it will be something that will need continued maintenance over the, as long as we have it. With that said, we also have an app that's related to the website, so if you haven't had a chance to download that, there are directions on the landing page of our website that shows you how to actually download the app. If you do that, you'll be able to receive information about your child's school right on the live feed, so you can get some real-time information right on your phone. Also, during the week of September 22nd, we'll be using an app similar to Remind. It's called Rooms. This app is something that will connect your child to their child's teacher, as well as a coach or any other staff member that your child will be working with, similar to the way that Remind previously worked. And so we've got a couple things that are up and coming over the next couple weeks with the website, and teaching and learning is just getting started. So we're excited for this year, particularly at the high school, and all the new experiences that they'll have the opportunity to engage in. So with that, I will hand it off to Mr. Furtado.
Thank you. Good evening. So I want to echo the superintendent's sentiment that it was a relatively quiet opening, despite the greater than normal challenges we faced. I'm just going to go through the areas and kind of give you a brief overview, and if you have any questions, please feel free. Transportation, to date, we've processed over 1,600 applications for fee-for-service, which is about where we usually are every year. About 400 to 450 of those came after the deadline, which again is typical and normal, but always a challenge to get those students situated. We have about 120 applications that still have to be processed, so if you have friends and neighbors who are wondering, those are being done. They should be done by the end of this week, and we're getting about, even at this point, about 10 new applications a day. So it's still relatively busy, but we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, which will allow us to jump on some concerns we've received regarding bus stops a little earlier than usual. Facilities have been an extremely busy area for the district. We have a series of train projects at 7 of our other schools that are continuing, despite the supply chain issues, to be on time, running very successfully. We do expect all of the work to be done by the end of this calendar year, which would be about 3 months ahead of time. Different story with the gym floors. Hill Roberts, if you go down to Hill Roberts today, you will see a floor that's sort of in place. They expect all of the work to be done by Friday of this week, which will make it available to the school on Monday of next week. Hyman Fine, unfortunately, is not on the same track. They've had some greater than expected problems over there on a whole variety of issues. Our fingers are crossed to have it available by the end of this month. We just had a whole, another set of issues developed today. This building, we are thrilled to be here. I think everybody's thrilled to be here. This is still a work in process. There is a significant punch list that is active and ongoing. As we're kind of learning how to turn on the lights, which we can't yet. That hasn't been scheduled, but and control heat and do all that kind of stuff. We're discovering other things that aren't necessarily working properly and going through all of that. So we have a lot to flush through before we're at any kind of steady state of operating and in a place where everybody knows how to do the things they need to do every day to have a great day. So it's still in process. And then on top of all of that, our facilities department sort of entered the new year on July 1 a little understaffed. We're still working on catching up. So we've got people doing extraordinary amounts of work on a day-to-day basis until the staffing issue levels off a little bit. On the technology front, as the superintendent alluded to, we've had some substantial challenges, just in terms of the infrastructure, plugging into the infrastructure and making sure everything is compatible and working together. Again, an extraordinary amount of work, some of it anticipated, some of it not. But nothing that has put the brakes on any progress in terms of the school year or ability to interact with our students every day. We've distributed about 900 new Chromebooks in grades 5 and 9. We've maintained our 1-to-1 student device ratio for the district, as well as maintained a 1-to-1 staff device ratio for teachers and paras. Those have all been distributed to the buildings. One of the big challenges we have left in this building is getting the display technology to work the way, again, we want it to and the way it's capable of doing. There is some software that hasn't been delivered yet. There's a lot of training that hasn't taken place yet, so still some bumps in the road there. Food service, I'm going to be a little brave and say, we've made great strides from the beginning of the year. It was a new process. We didn't have necessarily all the infrastructure in place to execute it properly, and we certainly suffered ramifications for that. But as we've learned what some of those absences were and kind of filled those gaps, the system today has been working the way it was envisioned and substantially better than the way the school year started. We still have some distance to go a little bit. Again, the display technology is not operating the way it's going to operate, so students are still poking around saying, what's in there and what's that? And we'd rather have them be able to walk in, look, and say, okay, I want to go over there. That's the most efficient way to do that. But they've come a long way, taken great strides, and very encouraged by the hard work of everybody there. Copy Center. We did our best to plan capability throughout the building in terms of printing and copying. We have found some gaps in that plan and have to address that pretty quickly. And we've also had an unusual amount of breakdowns in the rest of the district. And then finally, the superintendent had asked me to lead an effort to refine and develop our ability in identification with the school's mascot and imaging publicly. That's going extremely well. We've gone through a whole series of iterations of potential paths and have a meeting tomorrow to kind of refine that to the best one or two, and certainly have an expectation and hope to have some formal rollout of the idea publicly by the end of October. We have our marketing students, as directed by the committee, working on a whole series of projects in support of that. So it's a very, very busy undertaking at this point.
Ms. Sawyer?
Thank you. In regards to food service,
yep.
A parent brought it to my attention that we as a district provide free lunches for the K-12 program, but when it comes to the pre-K, we're charging them for milks. And I feel like that, since I know that it's probably a DESE approved that for the K-12, but as a district where we offer pre-K, I feel like we should be providing these things to the youngest of students, and I wonder if we could look into that.
Yeah, sure. That's a great point. But so the free lunch is actually a federal program through USDA, and the milk is what they call a special program. So it sounds like it should be part of the school lunch program. It's not, and that's why there's a distinction. But I've never asked the question, well, why hasn't that joined the school lunch program and being free to all our students? I'm happy to do that, follow up with that.
Thank you, I'd appreciate that.
Sorry.
Yeah, Ms. Frepper?
Just I'm a little confused. I thought the federal program ended. I thought we're on the state program for this year.
The state agreed to fund the gap that would exist in the reimbursement for free meals. That's all they did. The federal allowed for continuation of the free meals. The exposure was districts would not get sufficient reimbursement to be able to afford it without any revenue from the students. And they kicked in the money to cover that.
Thank you.
Mr. Domenici?
Thank you. Mark, I know we were going to meet this week, we're meeting next week from an infrastructure standpoint, but since we're here and we're talking about kind of the, how things are progressing in the school as we move along, we are still on time for our expected completion of bus loops and parking in this building.
Yes,
to our
there's
knowledge.
nothing to suggest at this point that, again, between now and then, we may, become the North Pole or something, who knows, with the weather, but nothing to suggest at this point. None of that will be completed the way it's supposed to be completed.
Right, it's supposed to be like, I think by end of November, beginning of December.
End of November, end of October, beginning of November.
Okay, I was even later than that, just so when people are asking questions, we can kind of, show them to, be patient. We are
Yeah, they're
moving
actually
along
supposed
with
to
what
have
we're
a
expecting.
concrete pour in the circle tomorrow, the bus loop.
Yeah, I know it's getting close. People have been asking, so I felt we're a couple of weeks, we're not going to meet again as a committee for a little bit, so I figured I'd ask. Thank you.
And regarding punch list items for this building, which, are to be expected of a project of this size, has Consigli and our partners been cooperative and responsive and going?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's interesting, the team, Consigli, KBA, and Skanska are very dynamic in keeping everybody honest and responsible. The problem is, there are things we haven't done. For instance, when the ACA and network moved in, they found a couple of plumbing fixtures in the bathrooms that didn't work. Now, it wasn't that the bathroom didn't work, it wasn't that all of the bathroom, it was just 2 fixtures in one bathroom that, you don't know that until you go in and try it. So those things are happening constantly. A ceiling tile is wrecked for some reason, or we've had a situation where all the furniture still isn't here, and some of the furniture that is here is not in the appropriate spot. So there's a lot of musical chairs going on. Just a very busy time. There's situations where some of the paint on the wall is chipped off, or they have to address all of that. We had a air conditioner breakdown in the MDF room for technology and blew up a server because it got so hot inside. So it's those things that are happening that we need to, we haven't sort of gotten in front of yet as a process.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson?
Yes, thank you. And I just wanted to ask the question that with the systems that are failing because they're so new, I'm assuming there's some sort of warranty, no additional cost to the community?
Yeah, none of this comes at a cost either to the district or the city. It's all part of, the deliverable. They have to have air conditioning working in the MDF room, and whatever that means, they have to provide that.
Thank you for confirming.
At this time, I'll ask Ms. De Palma to give her update as Director of Family Engagement and Assistance.
Hello, everybody. I'm going to start with just talking about registration and then some work pieces that we put into place to help our students and families with their in the mental health arena as well. But I want to start with registration. As of July 1st, we've received 282 requests for registration. Of those, we've fully accepted and have students in we've fully accepted 221 of them and are in place, and those students are in our buildings. As of September 1st, actually, until today, we've received an additional 101 requests for registration. We have 37 left to manage. So we're moving as quickly as we can. Our biggest challenge, is making sure that everybody understands the documentation that's required, and that's, supporting our school committee policies and making sure that we're adhering to our guidelines. And sometimes that can create some frustrations with people needing everything, one thing from every column for registration, for residency and such. But we try really hard to respond as calmly and politely as possible and just say this is just what we need and give options. Like sometimes people don't realize, you can hand this in rather than this, and this will take care of this column. So we're still working through that, and I think that's our biggest focus right now, just making sure that we're getting everything we need in to make sure that when we send it off to a school that they have all the information that they need to be able to move forward and to make good choices for students. So that has taken up the lion's share of the summer, with the move and everything. We lost a little bit of time there, so we had to play catch up, and we've all learned a lot. this summer about registration. And we found some of our glitches that we need to fix and adjust and make sure that we communicate better and put in better systems. So as we're doing it, we're trying to self-correct, so that next year and every year, going forward, we just get better. As for the mental health arena, we've agreed to work with the Jed Foundation, which is out of New York, and we have an agreement with them that they'll be coming in to support our work in mental health policy, protocol, and procedure review. They are going to work with us over the next 2 years to go through all of our processes and update, review, develop systems that we need, and just be able to move forward with better work as we deal with whatever next year brings us or tomorrow. They'll be working with us with our crisis intervention and support planning, bringing in CALM, which is counseling on access to lethal means, and then we also have the Let's Talk campaign that will be coming in as well to help students and teachers be able to have conversations that are open. It's just very open about any mental health concern or challenge that they might have. Jed has, they are nationwide. They are well known for the work that they do, and they are very excited to work with us and give us their time.
Questions? Scrap here?
Sure. So I know Peter Thatcher had a few delays in getting the class assignments out. Do we have any other schools during the late registration period that suffered from getting the classes organized?
We had a couple of glitches along the way with specific schools, and partially that was people just learning how to do it. We had so many new people coming on board or coming on to learn new systems and new processes and new buildings, I believe that was what really caused or made that more challenging. And instead of us wanting to put out class lists that we might need to change based on what we were working through registration-wise, we really felt it was in the student's best interest and the family's best interest to wait, and that rather than call next week and say, well, we need to change to balance off the classroom sizes, or for whatever other reason. We felt we didn't want to promise a student that he was going to be in a room with a friend and then possibly need to make that change later on.
So it was just localized, wasn't computers or migration?
No, it was just we needed to work through some RO pieces.
Thank you.
Mr. Geddes?
I guess I'm guessing this is very varied, family to family, but what's the timeline for the students that still need to be placed that are late registrations?
It really depends on where they are, and so my team has been reaching out daily to families that are struggling. We keep records and notes about, just so that we're clear on who's being communicated with, and with that comes follow-up information. This is exactly what you're missing, this is what we need. As soon as we get that in, we process it. Like today, we received a registration today that had already been reviewed, and they were, it's a unique situation when we get everything in one shot. And then we're able to move it forward. But as soon as we're able to, we do.
Awesome, thank you.
Mr. Machi?
Just a quick question. And I know every year we get registrations, late registrations. I'm just curious, what's the impact to our student population? Has it increased this year since last year?
We were just talking about this week tonight. I don't have the exact number of who's left. I haven't done that end of it yet, but historically, we tend to get 300 in and 300 leave. Somehow it stays around the same number every year, and right now like I said, we have received 282, which is in the ballpark, and I'm sure we're going to get more. We get more daily. So I have a feeling we'll probably fall around the same.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, this time I'll ask Ms. Singer, our Director of Human Resources, to take her report.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairman Withers and school committee members. It has been quite a busy hiring season. It is typically a busy June through September is our busiest time of year, and so with a move and all the technical struggles that we had, it's been increasingly more of a challenge this year than in the past. We processed over 470 staff moves or hires or status changes in those 3 months, which is fairly typical for us. However, this year we also had a significantly higher number of retirements and resignations
than in years past. Our retirements went almost tripled from an average of 10 to 12 a year to 35 this year. And resignations doubled from roughly around, we usually get 20, we had 45 resignations this year. That is not outside of what's happening in the world in general with employers, but it just added to what we had to process this year. I want to thank our AEA colleagues for agreeing to move their transfer request date from April to March, which is something we agreed to last year. It did help us, I believe, tremendously in filling positions sooner than we would have. That month really does impact, moving and shuffling and then being able to post vacancies more in the end of April, beginning of May timeframe lends to a larger, stronger pool of candidates. So I really think that that helped us a lot this year in filling positions and having positions filled. I think we are in a good spot from my colleagues in other districts. I think we did fare better than a lot of others. We still have vacancies and positions, but I'll go through that now. As Superintendent Sawyer mentioned, we have roughly 850 employees in the district this year. To date, we have hired 80 staff. 18% of our educators that we hired are staff of color, are educators of color. We still have 5 hires in the process, and we do still currently have 17 vacancies in the district. That's 6 general ed vacancies and 11 special ed vacancies. As I forget, someone alluded to our administrative team this year. We did onboard 10 administrators this year, 4 new positions at the middle school and the ELC, and then replacing 6 other administrators. So we had a lot of, while a lot of change in positions, a lot of them were actually here already, as we had alluded to last year when we introduced our new admin teams at each building. We have hired 40 teachers so far this year and 22 paras this year. And so the teacher vacancies outside of special education, which does have its own unique challenges, our general ed teacher vacancies were due to last-minute resignations. I have to say the administrative teams at the buildings did a phenomenal job of filling their positions this year. It was those last minute, within the last 2 weeks before school started, that the vacancies, or even a week into school starting, that vacancies occurred. So I anticipate 3 out of those 4 being filled in the next week. High school science is still a challenge, so we're still struggling a little bit with that. And then, of course, paraprofessionals, we are struggling to fill paraprofessional roles this year. We did have to fill some with contracted vendors. And so, again, we still have positions posted and are screening through those applicants as well. Moving forward this year, some of the HR Council will be focusing on a retention plan so that we can see what we can do to put some things in place moving forward to help retain more staff in the coming years. And then negotiations. This is a negotiation year. All 7 of our collective bargaining units have written to the chairman to enter into negotiations. So good thing there is that it's also starting early, so we have more time to get through negotiations. So we'll be starting those, and I look forward to working with the committee and our union partners in getting that successfully accomplished this year. That's the end of my report.
Ms. Sawyer?
I'm sorry, did you say there were 17, oh my gosh.
Vacancies?
Yeah, vacancies for teachers?
No, there are 17 vacancies in the district, 4 general ed teachers, 3 special ed teachers, and then paraprofessionals.
And when do we expect these to be filled? Like within the next month?
The 4 general ed teacher positions, 3 of them already have people kind of in the queue being processed. The one left, high school science, we're struggling to get candidates for high school science. It's been posted once before because we had a vacancy that we did fill, but recently it's like 0 to 2 applicants and not, just not anyone that's panned out yet. So that one was a little more of a challenge.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Mr. Gaddis? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's great news that we've been able to grow staff across the district over the last few years, and that we're at a point where we finally have fully recovered and are now exceeding staff levels from the crisis we were in 6 years ago. Hearing an increase in BIPOC hires is incredible as well. And I appreciate the turnaround time with some of the late resignations. I guess my question is, I know Mr. Sawyer earlier talked about the burnout that can be associated with education. Do we know exactly why we had so many more well, I guess with retirements, was there an early retirement incentive that was offered that led to a higher level, or do we know why we had so many more retirements and resignations?
So retirements, we did not offer an early incentive at all. I think that there's a couple things. One, just the nature of the last several years has burned people out, and people who were thinking they could wait a couple of years decided that they didn't want to. I also think that we have a significantly high number of staff who are at that top step, have been here forever, ready to retire. So I do anticipate our retirements to be a little bit more in the coming years, just because that's the percentage of staff. We have a high percentage of staff who've been here for a very long time. So I think it's a couple things.
And as far as resignations,
the great resignation, right? Everyone's heard about this. Everyone's resigning to go someplace else. Most of the educators have stayed in education, either moved because families have moved, or they did their student teaching and grew up in their teaching years in Foxborough and want to go back. So that will be something again that the HR Council will be looking at this year in terms of retention and how far can we survey people who've already left to say what could we have done to keep you here, as well as asking the people who are here, what are we doing that makes you want to stay here, right? So we'll be looking into those types of things so that we can try to get ahead of those larger numbers in the coming years.
Thank you.
All right. Ms. Medeiros.
Last but not least. Good evening, everyone. Great to see you. I'm going to start with ESY. So our first day of ESY was the first day of the move. It was a little bit challenging for us. I just want to thank our families for their patience. We had over 300 students, over 70 staff. I also want to thank our staff in particular for their patience, their professionalism during what was a challenging summer for us, because all of those, as the high school moved, kind of that domino effect that rippled out into our other schools, particularly at Thatcher and Brennan, was certainly a challenge. I want to thank Teresa Silva, our ESY coordinator, who kind of plugged away at it every day with myself and Stephanie and Allison as well, and particularly transportation, who was out here trying to get their cell phone out here in the middle of a construction zone and trying to help us get kids in and out of the program. So I really want to acknowledge their work. I also want to let families in the community know that we're going to spend, we've started to kind of review our procedures in ESY and doing some professional development with our families as well as our teams. We're finding that we often identify kiddos who sometimes they just don't want to be there. It's heartbreaking to see them cry every day coming in. They just don't want to be there, and kind of looking at what are the options for them instead and what makes sense for them. And also helping our families with it's okay if they don't come this year because you've got something else going on, because we staff for families who say yes, that they're going to send their child, and it's really hard when we have large numbers of students who don't come every single day or for weeks at a time. So just to kind of work through that with families. As far as some programming, I don't remember, I think it was Scott who asked about the increase. We are seeing an increase in special ed enrollment. We had, of the new registrations so far as of today, we've received 72 IEPs. That was up as of The same day last year, we had about 58, so we're up significantly. And what we're seeing is an increase in students needing high needs and moderate needs autism students and programming for those students, as well as students with social, emotional, and behavior needs. And that is across the district from pre-K through 12 plus for that. We've seen an increase at the middle level, up a third from last year at this time, with new move-ins for IEPs. A lot of that is inclusion IEPs, but again, coming in with a lot of social, emotional, behavioral goals and services. For programming, we added, based on the increase in the need for intensive autism programming at the K-4 level, we added a new classroom this year over at Thatcher, another Insights classroom. We also added, for moderate needs programming for autism, we added, starting a new strand for the Spark program over at Hill Roberts. So we've added K, and we hope to grow that out over at Hill Roberts. We then also consolidated our Spark programming, a full K-4 strand over at Willett as well, and that was based on family and staff feedback. That had been broken up the last few years, with our younger students for Spark over at Thatcher and our older at Willett. That program, just the kids need, the growing needs, so we're going to actually see 2 strands of that, one at Hill Roberts and then one at Willett as well. So we've changed that up a little bit. And then just to address staffing, so we have been, we posted positions that we knew, whether there was a new position like the Spark position, the Insights position, or whether we knew somebody was either taking a leave or retirement or whatever. As soon as we knew, we were posting. We started posting back in February, March, I believe, for some of the high needs positions. We've certainly been challenged with finding candidates that are appropriate, because for licensure for special ed, you can have a moderate special ed licensure, which can mean anything from inclusion to intensive autism programming. So it's finding the right candidate for those positions. Those positions for autism programming, behavior programs, it's what everybody's looking for. So candidates have certainly, they have their pick. So that's certainly been a challenge in finding the right candidate, and then finding a candidate who's in the area who wants to come for whatever reason, leave their programming to come here. So there's all of that going on at the same time. We have been challenged with, in the meantime, kids are here, we have to provide services. So we have substitutes in many of those, and a lot of that is people who have been paraprofessionals, have been substitutes with us, and are getting degrees, want to grow and become special educators. So it becomes then a domino effect, right? So we have a paraprofessional who moves up to a teacher position, that then we need to backfill a paraprofessional. So that's been the challenge there. We started to use some contracted services, some staffing agencies who really specialize in special ed staffing, particularly in the area of autism and behavior programming. So we've started that a little bit last year when we were seeing people going out for a variety of reasons, for leaves and that kind of thing. We've had to expand that this year just because of there just aren't candidates right now. We keep posting every couple of weeks, and every time we get somebody, we hire them right away, but that's kind of where we are. And I don't know if you have questions for me.
Mr. Domenici?
Just one, and I guess it just goes back to my times on the budget subcommittee. This is usually the time of year where we might start to get some children coming in late that were unexpected in terms of maybe additional special education costs. And so my question to you, or perhaps even to Mark, are, how are we looking so far? Is it too early to tell? Because I think the last time we were starting to get a lot of kids in August, September, and that's what caused that spike one year. And I know we've tried to prepare. So I asked the question, how are we standing today as, with respect to that?
Do you want me to answer?
Sure.
We're actually looking pretty good. We had a number of students who aged out or graduated this past year. We've had 6 move-in students from that have out-of-district IEPs, just received one today. But of those 6 students, only 2 are actually where Attleboro would be fiscal for this year. Some of them have DCF placements. We're not fiscal for those. But we also have been, a lot of the kids that are coming in are high school students with therapeutic programming, which we've been actually referring to Network to see if that's appropriate. So we've got some tuition costs there for a couple of kids. So that's kind of where we are right now, but it looks okay for what we projected out so far. Anyway, keeping our fingers crossed.
Thank you.
If there are no other questions of the administration, I'll conclude my report by just thanking the committee for renewing my contract. It is, the greatest honor of my life to serve this community and you as its representatives, and I look forward to continuing that work, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you, for your work, your hard work this summer and early this fall, and getting the school year off and running as successfully as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a slew of action items / motions to get through tonight. First one is a motion to send to the municipal council for approval of payment of a prior year end obligations in the amount of $1,605.35 as broken down on the memorandum dated September 1st, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or questions about this motion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next we have a motion to declare miscellaneous furniture equipment described in the column labeled white surplus as surplus items that are no longer usable by the district.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, comments about this motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to declare the food service equipment itemized and described as located in the culinary kitchen, in the culinary store, in the main kitchen, in the back room, in the storage room, and in the cafeteria of the old high school as surplus.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to declare the tile work in the principal's lobby at 100 Rathbun Willard Drive as surplus, and that suggests that and asks that the city council allow these items to be given to the Blue Pride Ambassadors Club to distribute to artists.
So moved.
Second.
You'll notice on these next few motions, a bit of deja vu. We've gone over this a few times, and for some reason I keep getting asked to redo it, so we'll redo it to make the municipal government happy. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion to declare the following items as surplus and ask that the city council allow these items to be returned to the respective families of the original donors with the assistance of the Blue Prize Ambassadors Club, the Bray Auditorium letters, courtyard garden memorials, and the Torchiello bench.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, Mr. Fabio?
Is there a reason some of these items weren't relocated here, like the benches and the memorials? I mean, we have still the grounds for it.
Just got a any insight on that?
Over the last few years, we've tried to move away from having too many physical memorials, whether it's for students or staff. The Bray Auditorium has obviously been relocated. The auditorium in the new building is again named after Principal Bray. But a lot of the courtyard memorials and the bench that's mentioned was located under a tree behind the loading dock behind culinary in the old building. And so since as a committee we've moved away from having too many physical memorials within the schools, we didn't want to completely rid ourselves of these inappropriately. We wanted to make sure that they went directly to the families.
All right.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion to declare the war memorial plaques that adorn the superintendent's lobby at 100 Rath and Willard Drive as surplus, and that the city council, and ask that the city council gift these items to the Attleboro VFW Preservation Society for historical preservation.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Mr. Pepper.
Again, new in town last few years. Were these students of AHS that served in wars prior and they were up?
Yeah, I think it was a total of 3 or 4 plaques, primarily related to Attleboro High School students, not necessarily alumni, that were lost in World War II. I don't think there were any from any other wars. You saw them more frequently than I did, but because they were right outside your office. But
and at the risk of being too sentimental, I understand a lot of the stuff we've deemed surplus, but some of these things feel like very small that we could find space for in such a large facility. So I'm just curious about it.
We had at one point discussed finding a way to celebrate all veterans within the building. The tricky part with that, admittedly, this was a discussion with the previous Veteran Affairs Director for the city, but he expressed concern that even on the city common downtown near City Hall and the Gilbert Perry Square, as comprehensive as those lists are, they still get names of alumni. And so the tricky part of listing names out like they had with those plaques is that there's always a chance that you're finding out more and more that aren't included. So it's kind of a constant change potentially.
The only thing that I would add, because I remember in planning the new building and what would come and what wouldn't come, the important part of this motion, at least to me, is that separating it and declaring it surplus and making sure it goes to somewhere that can properly preserve it and honor it and display it, and that's why it's set aside separately to go to the VFW, Attleboro VFW, as opposed to part of another motion. But,
understood.
Yeah. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion to declare the Motion to declare the leftover material mock-up old CIS textbooks and equipment that was located in the CIS lab and the photos in the Blue Pride Bistro at 100 Rath and Willard Drive as surplus, and ask that the city council gift these items to the Attleboro Industrial Museum for historical preservation.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Mr. Geddes.
Just a quick comment. These were items that, as we did tour the building to identify things that should go elsewhere in the city, whether it was two families or different organizations. Most of the items here listed are things we thought would be great for the Industrial Museum to display for historical significance. But specifically, the photos in the Blue Pride Bistro had previously been donated by the Industrial Museum to the bistro for display. So this is just ensuring that they get those back.
Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right. Next, we have our minutes from our August 22nd, 2022 meeting. Minutes were circulated with your materials. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or edits? All those in favor?
Aye.
Consent agenda tonight, 5 items. Motion to accept the donation of 20 backpacks with school supplies with an estimated value of $600 from Capron Park Dental to the Attleboro Public Schools for children in need. Motion to accept the donation of school supplies with the approximate value of $1,200 for children in need from Fitzy's Pub employees and patrons. Motion to accept the donation of 55 backpacks and supplies from the Greater Attleboro Council for Children with an estimated value of $1,100 for children in need. Motion to accept the contractual obligation in the amount of $84.20 from Planet Aid, Inc. as broken down on the check receipt dated August 18th, 2022. And motion to accept the donation in the amount of $25 to the Attleboro High School General Fund.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? Mr. Geddes.
Very quick question. First of all, thank you to Capron Park Dental, Fitzy's Pub, and the Greater Attleboro Council for Children for their donations. My question to the administration is, obviously backpacks are good year-round, but as far as the other supplies go, how long do we think these will last? I know we typically get periodic donations throughout the year, but not so much a bulk of supplies like is included here. So I guess, will this get us to October, or will it get us through to like March or April?
So each building has their own set of supplies that we use to equip each classroom. These supplies would be for possibly students who may not have some of these materials at home. And we would send them home with the students so that they can complete their assignments or work at home.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that's our consent agenda. Next, we have open forum. Is there anyone who would like to address the committee at open forum tonight? This is the administrator's chance in the background to let us have it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close open forum. Any new business tonight, Mr. Domenici?
Just one question. I noticed on the Attleboro High School Facebook page, it looks like we changed the time of the open house. I think initially we were targeting 9 to 12 on the 24th, and it looks like it's now 11 to 1. I was just hoping to get that confirmed. Some people might miss that.
I don't know the exact time, but let me get that back for you. That sounds right to me. I know that there were concerns about the 9 o'clock time, so.
It was in one of the blasts, not necessarily front and center, so I guess my request would be maybe we need to like just make sure people are aware of the time, because we've had a lot of people asking questions
We're going to do
coming here.
As we get approach the 24th, we're going to do a full blitz in terms of getting out all the details.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else with new business tonight? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.